Hello everybody, it is Dockers and welcome back to Arma 3. So in today's video we're going to be looking at how I take off and land the VTOLs and how I personally prefer to do it. We're going to have a look at the Blackfish very soon, which is my favourite. First off, we're going to start off with the Xi'an. So a couple of things I like to do as soon as I get in any VTOL is to make sure that auto vectoring is turned off. What this does is if it was to be on and you throttle up, the thrusters on the back of the aircraft are going to adjust themselves depending on your angle and your speed you're travelling at. I turn them off because then once the engine is started, using your flaps keys, you can see I'm adjusting the angle of the thrusters. I like to have full control over this myself. And if you look in the very top left hand side of the HUD, you can see a picture of the aircraft itself. And as I press flaps up, I can adjust it up to 0 and flaps down. It will come down to 90. Also on the left hand side of the HUD you have your pitch meter. This tells you at what degree your nose is pitched, which comes in very handy when you come to the slower speed of takeoff and land. And also the throttle percentage, which is on the far right in the centre. You have 0% if I throttle up, goes up, and throttle down. Now the Xi'an tends to hover around 45%. So if we bring it up to 47, we should very slowly lift off. And then all I'm going to do, I'm going to bring the gear up. If I press flap up once, you can see the thrusters are now at 75%. However, we're flying forward. There is now a line with a little ball on the front. This is telling us where our aircraft will land if we continue our current course. So we're going to throttle up, and bit by bit, we are going to bring the thrusters forward. And there we go. We are now at full forward velocity, gear up, and this will fly the same as a plane. Now when you come in to land, what I tend to do myself is I tend to hit the air brakes and hold them in, and I drop the throttle to 0% until I get close. Once I start getting close, you slowly bring the throttle up to keep the little ball, which is your flight vector, you keep that right on top of your target, therefore you know where you are going to land. I tend to do this around 4 kilometers. So this is our marker here. We are 4 kilometers away from it now. We're going to gain a little bit more distance so that once we do our bank turn, we are coming in at full thrust. So let's bank it over now. Get a little bit of distance over this way just in case there is a mission here. We should be alright. Okay, 6.5 kilometers. Let's roll it in and come in for a landing. So all you want to do is you want to try and keep that line with the ball in the centre of the HUD directly on your target when you come in to land. So we're going to wait until we see 4 kilometers, and then I'm going to hold air brake, and I'm going to cut the throttle to 0%. So here we go. Throttle's at 0. I've now used the flaps key to bring the flaps right down, and also to put the engines down at their 90 degrees. And I'm just going to hold this air brake button until the aircraft slows down enough. You'll see once this line with the little ball starts to drop, we'll slowly increase our throttle to bring the aircraft down. So it's starting to lower down now, so we're starting to lose altitude. Tiny bit of throttle. And we're really dropping now, so a little bit more. You can see the little line with the ball is now pretty much on target. I'm going to nose back. I can let go of the air brake now because we're travelling slow enough. We're just going to let ourselves slowly fall, about 27%. A bit more thrust. And we're just basically going to slowly bring the throttle up and try and get that little ball where we want to land. If we look down, you can see the ball is there. So we are actually going to give a little bit more thrust and nose forward. You can see the pitch indicator on the left hand side. We're just going to use that to control where we want to come in on. A little bit more thrust. Okay, and throttle down and off. We are landed. So it's a little bit of fiddling about with the thruster positions, but I tend to, once I come into 4 kilometre mark, you can see there's the marker I wanted to land on, pretty close. Just remember, 4 kilometres at full speed, hold down your air brake, throttle to 0, and put your engines at 90 degrees ready. And then all you have to do is fiddle about with your throttle as you're coming into land to keep it nice and level. And the same goes for the Blackfish really. However, it does tend to hover at around 75% throttle rather than 45 to 50. But we'll do the same thing. So let's go to the map. Let's put a map marker about there for where we want to land. And let's try the same with this. So first off, auto vectoring off. Tap the throttle to get the engines on. So now you can see the vehicle indicator is actually in the bottom left hand side of the HUD now. So as I press flaps up, they go forward. Flaps down, they pull back. Now in this aircraft, they will not go past 72% until you're at a certain altitude because the rotors will hit the floor. So we're going to throttle up to around 70%, 76. So we should just about lift off. There we go. Full throttle, 1 tap of flaps up. So we pitch the rotors forward. And again. And you can see now that our flight indicator, which is this in the centre, is the same as that line with the ball on it. Now it's telling us exactly where our aircraft's going to go. So click it a few times. Right, so we're in full flight mode now. So if we have a look, rotors are fully pitched down. And we are flying like normal. Now putting the nose at around -5 degrees tends to be a dead level flight. You can see the flight indicator here is right in the centre on the horizon. So that's with about a 5-degree pitch down. Okay, so with the Blackfish, let's have a think about our landing. So we're around 4 kilometres now. Now this thing tends to slow down quite a lot quicker, so you can cut the throttle on that at around 3 kilometres direct flight. Now you can do more fancy manoeuvres with both of the aircraft to bring them to slow down a lot faster, but personally this is what works for me and how I prefer to fly. So let's bring her around, head straight for that other waypoint. And we will come in for a landing, and we'll do the same thing again. So we're looking at the one on the left. So we're going to get our flight vector lined up with that. So we're heading towards it. And at 3 kilometres, we're going to go throttle to 0, rotors all the way to vertical, and air brake on. Okay, there we go. So throttle in back, air brakes on, pitch in the rotors. So you can see now on the bottom left, rotors are at 90 degrees. And we are dropping speed dramatically. Let's get the gear down just so we know it's down. Now I am doing these very high for tutorial purposes. You can see I'm at nearly 500 meters up. I would normally do this very low to the ground. So throttle up again. And we're just going to do the same. So as we're falling and we're getting closer, I can take the air brake off now. A little bit more throttle. Don't want to fall too fast. Otherwise we're going to end up injuring ourselves. Let's put the throttles up to about 85%. Try and get this to slow down its descent. There's our flight vector. And we're just going to bring it in nice and slow with a bit of throttle control. So throttle down, throttle up. Let's nose forward a little bit. We're going a little bit too slow. So I've actually completely let go of my mouse and keyboard now, and I'm slowly approaching that marker. Okay, let's regain control. Let's bring it over a little bit. As we begin to nose up and slow down our forward momentum, we need to throttle up to stop it from falling. And we should touch down any second now. And there we go. Throttle right off. And if we get out, you can see it's just off my nose once again. So quick run through of what you need to do for both of these two. Turn auto vectoring off. That's personally how I prefer it. If you can get used to it, you have a little bit more control. Use your flap keys to adjust the pitch of the rotors or the angle of the thrusters on the back of the Xi'an. 4 kilometers for the Xi'an, 3 kilometers for the Blackfish. Throttle to 0, hold the air brake, put the engines in their full 90 degrees, and then as you come in, use that little flight vector symbol to tell you where you're going to land, and just play with the throttle bit by bit to try and keep that dot on target, and you should land pretty close to your mark. Hope you enjoyed it, guys. Hope this has helped a few of you out, and I will catch you all very soon. Take care, guys.